There's something nobody tells you about discipline. It was never designed to make you feel good. Every system that promises you easy discipline is lying to you. Because real discipline, the kind that rebuilds lives, feels like a controlled death. And today, you're going to understand why that's exactly what you need. You wake up. First thought is a negotiation. Stay in bed 5 more minutes or get up now. That negotiation costs you energy before your day even begins. You sit down to work. Another negotiation. Check your phone or focus. The mental toll compounds. By noon, you've made 100 micro decisions about whether to do what you said you'd do, each one draining you. And this is where most people live their entire lives, in constant negotiation with themselves, promising Monday, breaking by Wednesday, restarting next week. The cycle never ends, but there's a Japanese system that eliminates the negotiation completely. Not through willpower, through architectural removal of choice. They call it shitsuke, the discipline that perpetuates itself. And once it's built, it doesn't require you to be strong anymore. It just runs, like breathing, like a heartbeat, automatic, inevitable, irreversible. My name is Elias Kays. I study systems most people ignore. Systems that separate those who wish from those who become. And what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's a documented process used in Japanese factories, Zen monasteries, and elite training facilities for over a century. A process that transforms inconsistent humans into reliable machines, not by adding motivation, by removing the gaps where motivation dies. Let me tell you about a man named David. 34 years old, software engineer, good job, decent salary, completely unreliable, not in his work, in his promises to himself. He'd bought 7 gym memberships, cancelled all 7, started 4 side businesses, abandoned all 4, began learning guitar, Japanese, photography, cooking, quit everything within weeks. The pattern was surgical in its precision. Week 1, explosive motivation. Week 2, cracks forming. Week 3, mental negotiations begin. Week 4, silence. David wasn't stupid. He understood the value of discipline. He'd read every book, Atomic Habits, The Power of Discipline, Can't Hurt Me. He knew the theory cold, but theory doesn't build discipline. Architecture does. One night after quitting his 8th attempt at morning running, David sat in his apartment and asked himself a dangerous question. Why do I keep doing this? Not why do I quit? Why do I keep starting things I know I'll quit? The answer hit him like cold water. Because starting feels like progress. Quitting feels like failure. So I stay trapped in the middle ground. Always beginning, never becoming. He realised he'd spent 10 years performing the theatre of self-improvement, buying gym memberships to feel productive, starting projects to feel ambitious, but never actually building anything that lasted. That night, David made a decision. He wasn't going to try one more time. He was going to build a system that made trying irrelevant. He researched everything he could find about sustained behavioural change, studies, case histories, systems used by military units, athletic programs, monastic orders. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. Discipline isn't about deciding to do something every day. It's about designing an environment where not doing it becomes impossible. And that's when he found Shitsuke. Not as a motivational concept, as an operational framework. In Japanese manufacturing, specifically the 5S system, Shitsuke is the final pillar, the one that determines if all previous improvements stick or dissolve. Sort, set in order, shine, standardize, sustain. Shitsuke is sustain, but not in the way most people think. It's not about trying hard to maintain something. It's about building a system where maintenance becomes the default state, where not doing the thing requires more effort than doing it. David studied how Toyota factories implemented this. Workers didn't rely on motivation to follow procedures. The workspace was designed so that the correct procedure was the path of least resistance. Tools in exact positions, steps color-coded, no room for interpretation, no decision fatigue, just execute. The factory floor didn't ask workers to be disciplined, it made discipline the only available option. David decided to apply this to his life, but he knew he needed to start small, ridiculously small. He chose one target: morning push-ups, not a workout routine, not a fitness transformation, just 10 push-ups every morning for 90 days, no exceptions, no negotiations, no modifications, 10 push-ups. Done. But here's what most people miss. David didn't just decide to do push-ups. He engineered inevitability. He placed his workout mat in front of his bedroom door, not beside it, in front of it. To leave his room, he had to step on the mat. And the rule was absolute. If you step on the mat, you do the push-ups, no exceptions. Morning 1, alarm goes off at 6. David gets out of bed, takes 2 steps, sees the mat. His mind immediately begins negotiating. You can do them after coffee, you can do them tonight, you can start tomorrow. But he'd made the rule absolute. Step on mat equals push-ups. He drops down. 10 push-ups, 45 seconds, done. Morning 2, same pattern, but the negotiations are louder now. You already proved you can do it yesterday, you don't need to prove it again. 1 day off won't hurt. He drops down. 10 push-ups. Morning 3. It's Saturday. Nobody works out on Saturday morning. You deserve rest. He drops down. 10 push-ups. By morning 7, something shifted. The negotiations were still there, but quieter. By morning 14, his body woke up expecting them. By morning 21, he did them before his conscious mind fully engaged. By morning 30, they weren't even a decision anymore. They were just what happened between sleeping and leaving the room. Automatic, installed, running without input. This is Shitsuke. But David noticed something else, something the books never mentioned. The push-ups themselves weren't making him disciplined. They were proving to him that he was someone who could be disciplined. Every morning he kept the promise, he was building evidence. Evidence that rewired his self-concept. I'm not the guy who quits, I'm the guy who shows up. The identity shift was neurological. A Stanford study on habit formation found that after 66 days of consistent behavior, the brain stops categorizing it as a choice and starts treating it as an automatic function, like breathing, like blinking. The behavior migrates from the prefrontal cortex to the basal ganglia, from conscious effort to unconscious execution. But here's the trap most people fall into. They hit day 66. They feel the behavior becoming automatic, and they think they've won. So they add more goals, more habits, more complexity, and everything collapses because they misunderstood what Shitsuke actually is. Shitsuke isn't about building one habit. It's about building the capacity to maintain any habit. It's about becoming someone for whom gaps don't exist. David understood this, so he didn't add anything for 90 full days, just 10 push-ups every morning, no matter what. Day 43, he got food poisoning. Spent the night vomiting. Morning came, 6 a.m. alarm. His body was wrecked. Mind saying, skip it. Obviously skip it. You're sick. Anyone would skip it. David thought about it for 10 seconds. Then he dropped down on the mat. Did 5 push-ups, not 10. 5. Slow. Terrible form, but he did them. Because the rule wasn't do perfect push-ups. The rule was maintain the behavior, no gaps. That day changed everything. Because David learned what every Zen monk knows. The day you most want to quit is the day that defines you. It's not the good days that build discipline. It's the days you're sick, exhausted, travelling, stressed, overwhelmed. Those are the days that forge identity. Day 90 arrived. David had done push-ups every single morning for 3 months. No exceptions, no gaps, not one. His body had changed. But that wasn't the real transformation. The real transformation was in how he saw himself. He was no longer someone trying to be disciplined. He was disciplined, not as an aspiration, as a fact, verified by data. And now he was ready to scale. But not by adding more habits, by applying the same system to the next domain. He chose reading, 10 pages, every night before bed, same principle. Book on his pillow, to get in bed, move the book. To move the book, read 10 pages. Absolute rule, no negotiations. Month 1, finish 2 books. Month 3, 6 books. Month 6, 12 books. By the end of year 1, David had read 48 books, not by finding time, by eliminating the decision of when to read. Then he applied it to meditation. 5 minutes, right after coffee, mat on the floor in front of the coffee maker. And drink coffee equals sit on mat, then work. Every project he started, he applied Shitsuke. Minimum viable action, absolute placement, 0 negotiation. 1 year later, David was unrecognizable. Morning push-ups became 30 minutes of training. 10 pages became an hour of reading. 5 minutes of meditation became 20. He'd launched a side business that was generating real revenue. He'd learned conversational Japanese. He'd built a network of connections in his industry. But here's what people don't understand when they see someone like David. They think he became superhuman. They think he has incredible willpower. They think he's just built different. None of that is true. David simply stopped asking his willpower to do the job. He built a system where willpower was unnecessary. Because here's the truth about discipline that nobody teaches. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes throughout the day. Every decision drains it. Every temptation taxes it. By evening, it's gone. That's why most people fail their commitments at night. Not because they're weak, because they spent 12 hours exhausting their willpower on 1,000 other decisions. Shitsuke removes willpower from the equation. You're not using discipline to do the thing. You're using design to make not doing the thing impossible. Let me show you how this works in practice. Most people trying to eat healthy rely on willpower to resist junk food. They keep cookies in the cabinet, ice cream in the freezer, chips in the pantry, and they tell themselves, I just won't eat them. Then evening comes, willpower depleted, stress high. And the negotiation begins. Just one cookie, you had a hard day, you deserve it. You'll start fresh tomorrow. They eat the cookie, feel guilty, then eat 5 more because they've already broken the rule. Shitsuke approach. Don't buy the cookies. Problem solved at the source. Can't eat what isn't there. No willpower required. No negotiation possible. But people resist this solution. They say, I should be able to have cookies in my house and not eat them. That's ego talking. The same ego that's been losing the battle for years. Shitsuke doesn't care about should. It cares about does. Does it work or not? If it works, keep it. If it doesn't, eliminate it. Another example. People trying to wake up early set an alarm, then hit snooze 7 times. They're trying to use willpower to override their body's desire to sleep. Willpower loses that fight 99 times out of 100. Shitsuke approach. Put the alarm across the room. To turn it off, you have to get out of bed. Once you're out of bed, the battle is won. The hard part isn't staying awake. The hard part is getting out of bed. So engineer that moment. Remove the choice. People trying to focus at work keep their phone on the desk, face down, silent. They think that's discipline. It's not. It's self-sabotage disguised as discipline. Because even with the phone face down, a part of your brain is monitoring it, waiting for the buzz, anticipating the notification. That anticipation kills focus. Shitsuke approach. Phone in another room. Can't check what isn't there. Focus becomes the default state. Now let me tell you what happens when you implement this system across your entire life. You don't become more disciplined. You become a different person. Because discipline isn't a trait. It's a pattern of behavior repeated until it becomes identity. David's friends started asking him how he changed so much. He told them about Shitsuke. Most of them nodded, said it sounded good, did nothing. Because understanding a system and implementing a system are completely different things. Understanding requires reading. Implementation requires death. The death of your negotiating mind. The death of your comfort-seeking patterns. The death of your identity as someone who starts things and doesn't finish them. Most people aren't willing to let that person die. They're attached to them. That person is familiar, safe, known. Building Shitsuke requires you to kill that person. And most people, when they get to that moment, choose to stay who they are. David killed that person. On day 43, when he did push-ups with food poisoning, that's when his old self died and a new identity emerged. Someone who doesn't negotiate with himself. Someone who doesn't make exceptions. Someone who maintains. 2 years after starting, David's life looked completely different. He'd been promoted twice at work. His side business had replaced half his salary. He'd run a marathon. He'd achieved conversational fluency in Japanese. He'd built genuine friendships with people operating at high levels. But the craziest part wasn't what he achieved. It was how he felt about it. No pride, no celebration, no sense of accomplishment. Because to David, these weren't achievements. They were just what happens when systems run. He wasn't proud of reading 60 books a year. He was just someone who read 10 pages every night. Do that for 365 nights. You read 60 books. Math, not magic. He wasn't proud of his business success. He was just someone who worked on it 1 hour every morning. Do that for 730 days. You build something substantial. Output, not willpower. This is what Shitsuke ultimately teaches you. You are not the results. You are the system. And when you become the system, results are just inevitable byproducts. They appear, like rain from clouds, like fruit from trees, automatic, expected, unremarkable. Now let me show you how to build this yourself, because everything I've told you is useless if you don't implement it. An implementation requires a specific sequence. Step 1. Choose one behavior, not 5. 1. The behavior that, if you maintained it for 1 year, would fundamentally change your life. For David, it was push-ups. For you, it might be something different. Writing, meditating, learning, building, creating. Whatever it is, choose one, only one. Step 2. Define the minimum viable action. This is critical. Most people choose actions that are too big. Work out for an hour, meditate for 30 minutes, write 1,000 words. These are too large. When the system is new, you need it to be stupid easy. So easy you have no excuse. So easy that even on your worst day you can do it. David chose 10 push-ups. You might choose 5 minutes, or 1 page, or 1 task. The number doesn't matter. What matters is that it's small enough that you can't fail. Step 3. Engineer inevitability. This is where Shitsuke lives. You're not going to rely on memory or motivation. You're going to design your environment so the behavior becomes unavoidable. Physical placement. Put the trigger directly in your path. Not near your path. In your path. Where you can't avoid it without consciously choosing to. Step 4. Create the absolute rule. No exceptions, no negotiations, no modifications. When trigger happens, behavior follows. Always, not sometimes. Not when you feel like it. Always. This rule is non-negotiable. Write it down. Step 5. Maintain for 90 days minimum. Not 60, not 30, 90. This is the installation period. The first 30 days build the pattern. The second 30 days integrate the pattern. The third 30 days verify the pattern. After 90 days, you're not trying anymore, you're just being. Step 6. No additions. This is where most people self-destruct. They feel momentum building. They want to add more goals, more habits, more complexity. Don't. One behavior, 90 days, no additions. After day 90, then you can consider adding, but only after the first behavior is completely automatic. Step 7. Track without emotion. Every day mark whether you did it or not how well, not how it felt, just binary. Did it or didn't. The data will show you the truth about yourself. If you see gaps, you haven't built Shitsuke yet. If you see no gaps, you have. Now here's what nobody tells you about this process. It will feel wrong. Your mind will rebel. This is too simple. This is too small. This isn't making a difference. I should be doing more. That voice is your old identity fighting for survival. It knows if you succeed at maintaining this one small thing, it dies. So it will do everything to make you stop. It will tell you you're wasting time. That real discipline looks different. That successful people don't do things this small. All lies. Successful people do exactly this. They just don't talk about it. Because it's not interesting. It's not inspiring. It's not marketable. So they tell stories about breakthrough moments, sudden clarity, explosive growth. But in private, they're running systems, boring systems, maintained day after day. That's the real secret. Let me tell you about someone else, a woman named Sarah, 41 years old, successful attorney, completely burned out. She'd spent 20 years building her career, 16-hour days, weekends at the office, no hobbies, no friends, no life outside work. She told herself it was temporary, just until the next promotion, just until the big case closed, just until she made partner. But there was always another target, another deadline, another reason to postpone living. At 41, she woke up one morning and couldn't remember what she enjoyed doing. Not career stuff, personal stuff. What did she like? She had no answer. 20 years of discipline directed at work, 0 discipline directed at life. She'd built a prison and called it success. Sarah decided to rebuild. But she knew her pattern. When she committed to something outside work, she'd do it intensely for 2 weeks, then work would consume her again. So she applied Shitsuke. One behavior, 10 minutes of walking, every day at lunch, non-negotiable. She didn't try to exercise, she didn't try to get fit, she just walked for 10 minutes. Out of the office, around the block, back, 10 minutes. Month 1 was brutal. Her mind screamed that this was inefficient, that she was wasting time, that important emails were piling up. She walked anyway. Month 2, something shifted. Those 10 minutes became the only 10 minutes of her day that felt real. Everything else was performance. But those 10 minutes, alone, outside, moving. Those were hers. Month 3, she noticed her stress levels dropping. Not because 10 minutes of walking is exercise, because she'd built evidence that she could prioritize herself, that work didn't own her, that she could set a boundary and maintain it. After 90 days, the walk was automatic, so she added the next behavior: 20 minutes of reading before bed, no work material, fiction, pleasure reading, another 90 days, another automatic behavior installed, then journaling, then cooking, then calling old friends, each one installed using Shitsuke. Small, inevitable, maintained. 2 years later, Sarah's life was unrecognizable. Same job, same apartment, same city, but everything else different. She had hobbies, friends, routines that had nothing to do with productivity. She'd rebuilt a life she'd forgotten existed. And the interesting thing was her work performance actually improved. Not because she was working more hours, because she was showing up more whole. The mental breaks restored her clarity. The friendships restored her perspective. The hobbies restored her creativity. Shitsuke doesn't just build discipline in one area, it builds the architecture of a balanced life. Because once you prove to yourself that you can maintain something, you can maintain anything. The skill transfers. Let me address something important. People hear this system and think it sounds robotic, mechanical, like you're turning yourself into a machine, and they resist it because they value spontaneity, freedom, living in the moment. Here's what they don't understand. True freedom requires structure. You can't be spontaneous when you're trapped in chaos. You can't live in the moment when your mind is drowning in anxiety about all the things you're not doing. Shitsuke creates the structure that enables freedom. When the important things run automatically, you have mental space for spontaneity. When your foundation is solid, you can play on top of it. Most people have it backwards. They think freedom means no structure, so they live in constant low-level chaos, always behind, always catching up, always negotiating with themselves about what to do next. That's not freedom. That's exhausting. Shitsuke builds the foundation so the rest of your life can breathe. Now let me tell you what happens long-term. Because Shitsuke isn't a 3-month project, it's a lifetime operating system. David is 5 years in now. He's built 12 major behaviors using this system. Exercise, reading, meditation, language learning, business development, relationship maintenance, financial review, skill practice, content creation, health tracking, network building, creative work, 12 systems running simultaneously, each one automatic, each one maintained without willpower. His life looks like a finely tuned machine. But here's what's strange. He's happier now than when he had 0 systems, because happiness doesn't come from freedom to do anything. It comes from the peace of knowing you're doing what matters. When systems are running, the mind rests. No guilt, no anxiety, no sense that you're falling behind. Everything important is handled automatically. That mental peace is priceless. People look at David and make assumptions. Must be nice to be naturally disciplined. Must be nice to have good genes. Must be nice to not have my problems. They're all wrong. David has the same problems everyone has. He just doesn't let them create gaps. Bad day at work. He still trains. Sick with a cold. He still reads. Traveling for a week. He still meditates. The circumstances change. The system doesn't. This is Shitsuke. Circumstances are noise. The system is signal. And you never let noise interrupt signal. Let me give you a final case study. A man named Robert, 56 years old. 2 failed marriages, estranged from his kids. Career had plateaued decades ago. He was going through life on autopilot. Not living, existing, waiting for retirement, waiting for death. At 56, Robert had a health scare. Not life-threatening, but enough to shake him. He looked at his life and saw nothing worth protecting. No relationships, no passions, no legacy. Nothing built, nothing maintained, nothing that would survive him. Most people at 56 would say it's too late. Robert didn't. He decided if he had 10 good years left, he was going to use them. He started with the smallest possible action. 5 minutes of stretching. Every morning. That's it. At 56, after a lifetime of starting and stopping, he chose 5 minutes. His friends laughed. His ex-wife, when she heard, mocked him. 5 minutes. What's that going to do? Robert didn't care. He understood something they didn't. 5 minutes maintained is worth more than 5 hours attempted and abandoned. He ran the 90-day cycle, 5 minutes every morning, no exceptions. Then he added walking, 10 minutes, then reading, 10 pages, then calling his daughter, once a week, then volunteering, 2 hours on Sunday, each behavior installed using Shitsuke, each one small, each one maintained. 3 years later, at 59, Robert's life had transformed. He'd lost 40 pounds. He'd read over 100 books. He'd rebuilt his relationship with his daughter. He'd found a community through volunteering. He'd started a small consulting business helping other people his age rebuild. Not because he needed money, because he'd found purpose, and that purpose came from one source. Proving to himself every single day that he could maintain something, that he wasn't finished, that he could still build, that his life wasn't over, it was just beginning differently. Shitsuke doesn't care how old you are, doesn't care where you're starting from, doesn't care about your history of failure, it only cares about one thing. Will you maintain it? If the answer is yes, everything changes. If the answer is no, nothing does. So here's your choice. You can keep doing what you've been doing, starting things, getting motivated, losing momentum, quitting, promising next time will be different, repeating the cycle until you die. Or you can implement Shitsuke, choose one behavior, make it small, engineer inevitability, maintain it for 90 days, no gaps, no exceptions, no negotiations. And see what happens when you become someone who doesn't break. Because that's what this is really about, not the behavior itself, who you become in the process of maintaining it. You become someone who keeps promises to themselves, someone who doesn't need motivation, someone who runs on systems instead of feelings, someone whose word to themselves actually means something. That person scares other people, because their existence proves that all the excuses are lies. You don't need more time, you need better systems. You don't need more motivation, you need elimination of choice. You don't need to try harder, you need to design better. Shitsuke will show you this, but only if you actually do it. Not think about it, not plan to start Monday, do it. Today, now. Choose the behavior, choose the trigger, set the rule, start. And then just maintain, for 90 days, then 90 more, then the rest of your life. Until maintaining becomes who you are, not what you do, who you are. That's when everything changes, not because the behavior transformed you, because you transformed yourself into someone capable of maintaining the behavior. And once you've done it once, you can do it again, and again, and again, until your entire life is a series of maintained systems, running automatically, supporting everything that matters, enabling everything you want to build. That's Shitsuke. That's discipline that doesn't feel good. Because it wasn't meant to feel good, it was meant to work. And it does, if you let it.